A quarter can sit in your pocket looking completely ordinary, while one tiny production detail tells a completely different story. And these state quarters are exactly the kind of coins people spend without ever checking. The dates in this video include 1999, 2000, and 2006, but the year alone is not what can make them interesting. Collectors look for the right mint error, unusual planchet, dramatic strike, double design details, die cracks, and rare production characteristics that can transform an ordinary 25-cent coin into something worth hundreds, thousands, or potentially much more when the exact rarity is present. The dangerous part is that some of those clues can be extremely small. They can hide around the horse, the tree, the ships, the peach, the buffalo, the lettering, or even the edge of the coin. So do not just read the state name and move on. Check the entire design. Check the rim. Check both sides. And before we reach number 1, you will see why some collectors inspect every old state quarter before letting it go back into circulation. Because sometimes the difference between 25 cents and a serious collector prize is hiding in one tiny detail almost everyone else ignored. 5 is the 2001 P Vermont state quarter, and at first glance, this one looks peaceful enough to be ignored. The obverse carries Washington's portrait with a clearly visible P mint mark identifying the Philadelphia Mint. Flip it over, however, and Vermont gives you one of the more detailed landscapes of the early state quarter series, the inscription Vermont 1791. A rural scene featuring maple trees and sap buckets, and the state motto Freedom and Unity. Nothing about that sounds like a multi-million-dollar mystery. Until you imagine that one tiny tree branch doesn't belong there. In our fictional collector story, a retired Vermont school teacher named Harold Mason supposedly bought a roll of 2001 quarters from his local bank and kept it unopened for more than 20 years. When his grandson eventually opened the roll, one coin looked slightly different beneath magnification. One of the maple trees appeared to have an extra raised branch running toward the lettering. At first, everybody assumed it was a scratch, but a scratch cuts into the metal. This mysterious line appeared raised above the surface. That distinction started the fictional hunt. Imagine specialists discovering that the line was not random damage, but part of a previously undocumented die crack running through the tree and slowly expanding during production. On the earliest fictional stage, the crack looks like a tiny additional branch. On later strikes, it grows heavier until it appears almost like lightning cutting through the Vermont landscape. Collectors start calling the imaginary variety the Lightning Tree Vermont Quarter. Now the story gets bigger. One exceptionally sharp example is supposedly found with the fictional crack. Unusually strong reverse details, virtually untouched surfaces, and another strange feature near Freedom and Unity, a tiny secondary outline around several letters suggesting a dramatic double die reverse. Suddenly, you no longer have one unusual feature. You have two. In our entertainment scenario, the coin is sent into a secretive private auction where 3 wealthy collectors begin bidding against each other. The price passes $400,000, then $900,000, and eventually crosses $2 million. Our fictional hammer price, $2.8 million. Now, obviously, your ordinary 2001 P Vermont quarter is not automatically worth $2.8 million. That number belongs to our fictional extreme value story. But the areas we're checking are exactly where real examination begins. Start with the P mint mark on the obverse. Look at its shape and position. Then inspect In God We Trust, Liberty, Washington's hair, neck, and the rim for anything that appears doubled, missing, unusually thick, or distorted. Flip the coin over and spend most of your time on the trees. Check the individual branches, the maple buckets, the mountain landscape, Vermont 1791, and Freedom and Unity. Look for genuine raised die cracks rather than scratches. Follow any unusual line all the way to the rim. A real die crack often has a continuous raised appearance because metal flowed into a fracture inside the die during striking. Next, inspect the lettering for possible doubling. Genuine double die characteristics should follow consistent portions of the design rather than appearing as random damage on one isolated letter. Look around the rim for a broad strike, partial collar, clipped planchet, or off-center strike. Then examine the metal itself for anything dramatically unusual in color, thickness, or weight. And here's another fictional twist. Imagine finding a Vermont quarter where the maple tree appears normal under ordinary light, but once the coin is tilted, a second branch becomes visible beneath the first, almost like a shadow created by two different strikes. Collectors nickname that fictional coin the ghost maple. One fictional buyer supposedly offers $1.7 million without even seeing the coin in person. The owner refuses. 6 months later, it supposedly sells privately for our headline figure of $2.8 million. That's the kind of story we're building in this countdown, not claiming every state quarter is secretly worth millions, but imagining what would happen if an ordinary coin carried an extraordinary, one-of-a-kind, mint-made combination. So if you have a 2001 P Vermont quarter, don't just read the date and throw it back into the jar. Check the P mint mark, trees, branches, lettering, maple buckets, rim, surfaces, and strike. And never clean it before inspection. Because in our fictional million-dollar universe, a branch that looks completely meaningless could be the beginning of a $2.8 million. Two buffalo standing beneath a wide western sky may look like nothing more than an attractive state quarter design, but the 2006 North Dakota quarter gives coin hunters several reasons to slow down. This is exactly the kind of modern quarter people assume cannot be valuable because it is not especially old. That assumption is dangerous. Modern U.S. quarters can become far more interesting when a genuine mint error, unusual strike, planch problem, or important die characteristic appears. And with the North Dakota design, there are several large areas where an unusual production feature can become easy to spot once you know where to look. Begin with the two buffalo in the center of the reverse. Study the outlines of their bodies, legs, heads, and the open spaces around them. Then inspect the sun, the landscape, and the surrounding lettering. Look carefully at North Dakota 1889, 2006, and E pluribus unum. Anything that looks doubled, unusually thick, incomplete, shifted, or distorted deserves a second look, but do not automatically call it rare. Circulation wear, scratches, hits, and lighting can create false impressions. Now, move to the rim. Follow it all the way around the quarter. This is where a dramatic off-center strike, broad strike, clipping issue, or another major production anomaly could become much easier to recognize. A genuine striking error should affect the design in a logical way. Random damage after the coin left the mint usually tells a different story. This is where the big money possibility becomes exciting. A normal 2006 North Dakota quarter may simply be a piece of pocket change, but a dramatic, genuine mint error can move a modern quarter into hundreds or thousands of dollars, depending on exactly what happened. Extreme wrong planchet or major striking errors across modern U.S. coinage can enter even stronger collector territory. The critical point is that the value comes from the exact error, not simply because the coin says North Dakota. And because the supplied image shows the reverse only, there is another important step. Turn your own coin over and check the mint mark on the obverse. A P or D alone does not create a jackpot, but identifying the mint is essential when comparing varieties and documented errors. Now examine the surface under changing light. Tilt the quarter slowly and watch the shadows around the buffalo, lettering, and rim. A real die-related characteristic should remain part of the design as the lighting changes. A reflection or surface scrape may suddenly reveal itself. If you find something unusual, do not clean the coin. Do not polish it, scrape it, or use chemicals. Original surfaces can become extremely important when a coin turns out to have a legitimate collector feature. So whenever you find a 2006 North Dakota state quarter, do not let the modern date fool you. Check the buffalo, inspect the lettering, study the rim, look for unusual strike characteristics, and turn the coin over to identify the mint mark. Because the quarter people assume is too modern to matter can become much more interesting when the right mint-made detail appears. Number 4 is the 2007 P Washington State Quarter, and this one gives us the perfect setup for a high-stakes mystery because the reverse is packed with small details that most people never study closely. On the obverse, you can see Washington's portrait with a visible P mint mark, meaning the coin came from the Philadelphia Mint. Flip it over and the design changes completely. Washington 1889 appears at the top, Mount Rainier rises in the background, a salmon jumps across the foreground, and the state nickname, the Evergreen State, appears in the center. At the bottom, you have 2007 and E pluribus unum. It is a beautiful design, but in our fictional collector universe. One strange salmon detail turns this ordinary quarter into a $4.1 million obsession. Here's the imagined story. A collector in Oregon supposedly buys several bank-wrapped rolls of 2007 state quarters just because he likes the Washington design. Most of the coins look identical. Then one reverse catches his eye. The salmon's body appears normal, but near the tail there seems to be a second raised outline, almost like the fish is moving twice. At first, he assumes it is machine doubling or circulation damage. But under stronger magnification, the secondary line appears in several connected areas: the tail, part of the body, and even a section near the water below. In our fictional scenario, specialists begin to suspect a major double die reverse that had never been cataloged. Collectors nickname the imaginary variety the double salmon Washington quarter. Then the second surprise appears. Near Mount Rainier, one thin raised line runs from the mountain toward the rim. It is not scratched into the metal. It rises above the field, as if the die itself had cracked during production. The combination becomes irresistible, a dramatic salmon doubling plus a major die crack on the same coin. The fictional auction story explodes. At first, dealers whisper about a possible $250,000 private offer. Then photographs reach several wealthy collectors. One buyer supposedly offers $1, $2 million before authentication is even complete. Another pushes it to $2.6 million. The owner refuses them all because he believes the coin is unique. Months later, the imaginary quarter enters a private auction with a reserve no one knows. The final fictional price? $4.1 million. Now, that does not mean a normal 2007 P Washington quarter is worth $4.1 million. This is our entertainment scenario built around the idea of an extreme, one-of-a-kind mint-made combination. But the areas to inspect on a real coin are still very specific. Start on the obverse with the P mint mark. Check its shape, position, and surrounding metal. Examine In God We Trust, Liberty, Washington's hair, cheek, neck, and the rim for unusual doubling, die chips, cracks, or missing details. Then flip to the reverse and focus on the salmon. Inspect the head, mouth, body, fins, and especially the tail. Look for repeated outlines that appear raised and consistent rather than flat, smeared, or damaged. Then move to Mount Rainier. Follow the ridgelines and surrounding field for any raised crack that might continue toward the rim. Study Washington 1889, the Evergreen State 2007, and E pluribus unum for doubling or distorted lettering. Also check the rim for an off-center strike, broad strike, clipped planchet, partial collar, or other dramatic production mistake. And in our fictional story, there is one final twist. Imagine a second 2007 P Washington quarter appearing years later with the same salmon doubling but no mountain crack. That would suggest the die crack developed later, meaning the $4.1 million coin could represent a tiny transitional stage from the same damaged die. That kind of discovery would send collectors into a frenzy. So if you have a 2007 P Washington State quarter, inspect the P mint mark, salmon, tail, Mount Rainier, lettering, date, rim, and strike very carefully. Because in our fictional million-dollar universe, one extra line on a salmon could turn 25 cents into a $4.1 million legend. 3 ships crossing the water make the 2000 Virginia State Quarter one of the most recognizable designs in the entire State Quarter series. But that familiar artwork can actually make people less careful. Most viewers see the ships, read Virginia, and move on. A collector looks at the same coin and asks a completely different question. Are all of these design elements struck the way they are supposed to be? That is where this quarter becomes interesting, because a genuine die variety striking error or unusual production characteristic can hide inside a design filled with small lines, sails, lettering, and open areas. Begin with the 3 ships in the center of the reverse. Inspect the sails, masts, hulls, and the water beneath them. Because the design contains so many narrow lines, this is exactly the kind of coin where damage or wear can fool the eye. A scratch across a sail can look like an extra design line. Flattened metal around a mast can resemble doubling. A hit from another coin can make part of the ship appear broken or missing. That is why you should compare several areas before deciding that something unusual is a genuine mint-made feature. Next, inspect the lettering. Look closely at Virginia, the date 1788, the Jamestown 1607-2007 inscription, quadricentennial, and the 2000 date near the bottom. If you see unusual thickness, duplicated edges, incomplete letters, or distortion, change the lighting and look again. Genuine die-related characteristics should remain consistent with the design, while reflections, scratches, and circulation damage can change dramatically as the coin is tilted. Now examine the rim all the way around. A major off-center strike, broad strike, clipped planchet, or another striking anomaly can become especially obvious when the rim and lettering no longer align normally. But again, ordinary edge damage should not be confused with a real mint error. A genuine production problem usually affects more than one part of the coin in a logical way. This is where the big value possibility enters the story. A normal circulated 2000 Virginia quarter may stay close to face value, but a dramatic authenticated error can move a modern state quarter into hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on the exact type, severity, and rarity. Major wrong planchet, striking, or die errors can push collector interest even higher. The key is that the value belongs to the exact error, not simply to every Virginia quarter from 2000. And because the supplied image shows the reverse side, you still need to turn your own coin over and identify the mint mark on the obverse. Knowing whether the coin came from Philadelphia or Denver is important when comparing known varieties and unusual production characteristics. Never guess the mint from the reverse alone. Also pay attention to the surface quality. Strong original luster, sharp details, and minimal contact marks can matter on modern coins, especially when collectors compete for unusually well-preserved examples. A heavily circulated quarter and a sharply preserved example of the same date can have completely different appeal. If you find something suspicious, do not clean it. Do not polish the ships, rub the lettering, or use chemicals trying to reveal more detail. Original surfaces can become very important if the coin turns out to be collectible. So whenever you find a 2000 Virginia state quarter, do not just admire the design. Check the ships, inspect the lettering, follow the rim. Study the surfaces, and turn the coin over to identify the mint mark. Because sometimes the difference between 25 cents and a serious collector coin can hide inside a design line most people never thought to inspect. A 1999 Connecticut state quarter can fool you because the reverse looks simple at first: one large tree, a few lines of lettering, and plenty of open space. But that simplicity actually makes this coin easier to inspect. When a design has one dominant feature, even a small production anomaly can stand out quickly. That is why collectors pay close attention to the charter oak, the branches, the trunk, the lettering, and the rim. If the right die, characteristic, strike error, or unusual production feature appears, a quarter that looks ordinary can move into a completely different collector category. Start with the charter oak tree in the center of the reverse. Look closely at the branches, especially the thin outer limbs near the edges of the design. Then inspect the thicker center branches and the trunk. If you notice a raised line, an extra-looking branch, unusual thickness, or a feature that seems repeated, do not assume immediately that you have found a rare error. Circulation damage, scratches, contact marks, and lighting can all make the tree look more complicated than it really is. The feature has to appear like it was created during the minting process. Next, inspect the lettering around the design. Look carefully at Connecticut 1788, the Charter Oak 1999, and E Pluribus Unum. Pay attention to the edges of the letters and numbers. If something looks doubled, shifted, incomplete, or unusually thick, rotate the quarter under a strong light and inspect it from several angles. A genuine die-related characteristic should remain part of the design, while a scratch or reflection can change dramatically as the lighting moves. Now, move to the rim. Follow it around the entire quarter. Look for areas where the rim appears unusually narrow, missing, flattened, or inconsistent with the rest of the coin. A dramatic off-center strike, clipped planchet, broad strike, or another major production anomaly can create immediate collector interest. But random edge damage after the coin left the mint can create similar-looking shapes, so the entire design has to support the error story. This is where the big money possibility gets interesting. A normal circulated 1999 Connecticut quarter may remain close to face value, but a genuine dramatic mint error can move a state quarter into hundreds or thousands of dollars, depending on the exact error, rarity, and condition. Extreme wrong planchet or striking errors can push collector interest even higher. The important point is that the money comes from the right error, not simply because the coin carries the 1999 Connecticut design. Condition can also matter. A quarter with strong original luster, sharp tree details, clean fields, and minimal contact marks can attract more attention than a heavily circulated example. Modern quarters may seem easy to find, but truly exceptional preservation can be much harder than most people expect. And remember, the supplied image shows the reverse side only. To identify the exact mint, turn your own coin over and check the mint mark on the obverse. Do not guess Philadelphia or Denver from the reverse. If you notice anything unusual, do not clean the coin. Do not polish the tree, scrape the branches, or use chemicals trying to make the details sharper. Original surfaces can be very important when a coin turns out to have a legitimate collector feature. So whenever you find a 1999 Connecticut state quarter, inspect the charter oak. Study the branch's and trunk, check the lettering, follow the rim, and turn the coin over to identify the mint mark. Because sometimes the detail that changes the story is not hidden in a tiny corner. Sometimes it is sitting right in the middle of the tree. Number 3 is the 2000p Virginia State Quarter, and this coin gives us one of the best designs for an entertainment mystery because the reverse is crowded with tiny lines, ship masts, sails, lettering, water, and overlapping details that can make a strange mint-made feature extremely difficult to notice at first glance. On the obverse, your coin shows Washington's portrait with a visible P mint mark, identifying Philadelphia. Flip it over and you see Virginia 1788 across the top, the famous 3-ship design in the center, Jamestown 1/07/2007 quadricentennial, the date 2000, and E pluribus unum near the bottom. In our fictional high-value story, one tiny extra line between those ships becomes the clue behind an imagined $5.6 million discovery. Here's the story. Imagine an elderly collector sorting through a box of state quarters that had been sitting untouched since the early 2000s. He isn't searching for anything special. He simply wants to organize the coins by state. Then he reaches Virginia. Under normal room lighting, the quarter looks completely ordinary. But when he rotates it beneath a lamp, one of the central ship masts appears unusually thick. He grabs a magnifier and notices something even stranger. A second raised line runs beside part of the mast and continues into one of the sails. At first, he thinks it must be a scratch, but the line is raised above the surface, not cut into it. In our fictional universe, the coin is sent to specialists who discover that the unusual feature appears in several connected parts of the ship design. A mast, sail edge, and part of the surrounding rigging all show matching displacement. Suddenly, collectors begin talking about a previously unknown dramatic double die reverse. They give it a nickname, the Ghost Ship Virginia Quarter. But the story doesn't stop there. A second fictional diagnostic appears near the water beneath the ships. A thin raised crack begins near the center and travels toward the lettering below. Specialists imagine that the die was beginning to fracture during production, meaning only a tiny number of coins may have been struck during this exact stage. Now combine those two features, major ship doubling plus developing die crack. That's when the imaginary bidding war begins. A private dealer supposedly offers $850,000 immediately. A wealthy collector raises the offer to $2.1 million. Another buyer sees enlarged photographs and believes the coin could represent a previously undocumented die state, pushing the private offer beyond $4 million. The owner still refuses. Eventually, in our entertainment story, the coin appears at a closed collector auction where only a handful of bidders are invited. The fictional winning price? $5.6 million. Of course, an ordinary 2000p Virginia quarter is not automatically worth $5.6 million. That is the exaggerated fictional value for our story. But the real areas worth examining are right there on the coin. Start with the obverse. Inspect the P mint mark, In God We Trust, Liberty, Washington's portrait, the hair details, neck, and rim. Look for raised die cracks, unusual doubling, missing design elements, or a dramatic strike abnormality. Then turn the coin over and spend your time on the three ships. Look closely at every mast, sail, rope-like line, ship edge, and water detail. Because there are so many overlapping lines, random scratches can easily fool the eye. A genuine mint-made feature should appear consistent with the struck design rather than looking like a fresh groove carved into the metal. Next, inspect Virginia, 1788, Jamestown, 1607, 2007, Quadricentennial, 2000, and E pluribus unum. Look for secondary outlines, unusual letter thickness, missing portions, or raised cracks connecting one part of the design to another. Then inspect the outer rim for a major off-center strike, partial collar, broad strike, clipped planchet, or struck-through error. And here's the final fictional twist. Imagine that years after the $5.6 million ghost ship quarter disappears into a private collection, another Virginia quarter surfaces with the same doubled mast but without the die crack. That would suggest two different stages of the same imaginary die. Suddenly, collectors are not searching for one coin anymore. They're searching for an entire ghost ship sequence. So if you have a 2000p Virginia State quarter, don't just look at the date. Study the P mint mark, ships, masts, sails, water, lettering, rim, and strike. Because in our fictional $1 million countdown, one extra ship line could turn 25 cents into a $5.6 million secret. A 1999 Delaware state quarter carries one of the most recognizable early state quarter designs, and that is exactly why collectors should not rush past it. The horse and rider in the center look simple enough, but the design contains several areas where die characteristics, strike problems, and genuine mint errors can become easier to spot. The key is not simply seeing something unusual. The key is deciding whether that unusual feature was created at the mint or added later by circulation damage. Begin with Caesar Rodney A.N.D. the horse in the center of the reverse. Look carefully at the horse's legs, body, tail, and the rider's outline. Pay special attention to any area that appears doubled, unusually thick, missing, distorted, or shifted. Then inspect the lettering around the design, including Delaware, 1787, the first state, 1999, and E pluribus unum. Compare the edges of the letters and numbers. A genuine die-related feature should look consistent with the way the design was struck, while scratches, dents, and circulation marks can create random shapes that disappear or change under different lighting. Now move to the rim. Follow it all the way around the coin. Look for anything that appears unusually narrow, incomplete, clipped, or off-center. A dramatic off-center strike, clip planchet, broad strike, or another major striking error can instantly push a coin into a different collector category. But normal edge damage can imitate these problems, so the rest of the design has to support the same production story. This is where the big money possibility becomes exciting. A standard circulated 1999 Delaware quarter may remain close to face value, but a genuine dramatic mint error can move a state quarter into hundreds or thousands of dollars, depending on the exact type, rarity, and condition. Major wrong planchet or severe striking errors can attract even stronger collector interest. The date alone does not create the money. The value comes from the right error, right diagnostic, and right condition. Condition can also change the story. Look at the open fields around the horse and rider. Strong original luster, clean surfaces, sharp detail, and minimal contact marks can make one example much more appealing than another. Two Delaware quarters with the exact same reverse design can look completely different under magnification. And remember, the supplied image shows the reverse side only. To identify the exact mint, turn your own coin over and check the mint mark on the obverse. Do not assume Philadelphia or Denver from the reverse alone. If you find something unusual, do not clean the coin. Do not polish the horse, scrape the lettering, or use chemicals. Original surfaces can become very important if the coin turns out to have a legitimate collector feature. So whenever you find a 1999 Delaware State quarter, inspect the horse and rider, check the lettering, follow the rim, examine the surfaces, and turn the coin over to identify the mint mark. Because sometimes the detail that changes the collector story is hiding in a design millions of people have seen, but almost nobody has actually studied. Number 2 is the 2008 P Alaska State Quarter, and this one is perfect for a dramatic story because the reverse already looks like a scene from a survival movie: a huge grizzly bear standing over a salmon, the words "The Great Land" and "Alaska 1959" across the top. On the obverse, your coin shows Washington's portrait with a visible P mint mark identifying Philadelphia. In our fictional high-value universe, however, one tiny detail near the bear's paw becomes the clue behind an imagined $7.3 million discovery. Here's the story. Imagine a fisherman in Alaska receives a handful of quarters as change at a roadside store. He notices nothing unusual and tosses them into the cup holder of his truck. Months later, while cleaning the vehicle, he finds the coins again. One is the 2008 Alaska quarter. He almost spends it, but under the bright dashboard light, something near the bear's front paw looks strange. It appears as if the bear has an extra claw. At first he laughs and assumes it is just a scratch. Then he puts the coin under magnification. The mysterious line is not cut into the surface. It appears raised. In our fictional scenario, a local collector examines it and notices another strange feature. Part of the salmon below the bear seems to show a secondary outline near the body and tail. The combination begins to look less like random damage and more like an unusual mint-made event. Collectors start calling the imaginary variety the six-claw bear Alaska quarter. Photographs begin circulating through private collector groups. One expert claims the extra claw could have formed from a small die break near the paw. Another believes the salmon feature might represent dramatic doubling from the reverse die. Then comes the detail that changes everything. Under strong magnification, a thin raised line supposedly runs from the bear's paw toward the ground beneath it, connecting the extra claw to another part of the design. If that were genuinely produced by a damaged die, collectors would want to know how many coins were struck before the die was replaced. 10? 100? 1? The mystery becomes more valuable than the coin itself. A fictional private buyer offers $1.5 million. The fisherman refuses. A second collector offers $3.8 million after seeing high-resolution images. Still no sale. Finally, our imaginary Alaska quarter is placed into an invitation-only auction where two wealthy error coin collectors battle over it. One bidder believes it is a unique late-stage die break. The other believes the combination of the bear features, salmon doubling, and exceptional preservation makes it one of the strangest modern quarters ever discovered. The fictional hammer finally falls at $7.3 million. Now, a normal 2008 P Alaska State quarter is not automatically worth millions. The value here is deliberately exaggerated for our entertainment story. But the areas being examined are real parts of the design that you can inspect on your own coin. Start with the obverse and look closely at the P mint mark, Liberty, In God We Trust, Washington's portrait, hair, neck, and rim. Search for unusual raised cracks, doubling, missing details, or a dramatic strike problem. Then flip the coin over and focus on the bear. Inspect the head, mouth, shoulder, front legs, paws, claws, back, and rear legs. The paw area deserves especially close attention in our fictional story. If you see an unusual line, determine whether it is raised above the surface or scratched into it. Then examine the salmon beneath the bear. Look around the head, body, fins, and tail for repeated outlines or unusual metal displacement. Study Alaska, 1959, The Great Land, 2008, and E pluribus unum for doubled-looking lettering, thick characters, die chips, or cracks. Also inspect the entire rim for a possible off-center strike, broad strike, partial collar, clip planchet, or struck-through error. And now the final fictional twist. Imagine another 2008 P Alaska quarter appears years later with the same extra bear claw, but the salmon doubling is missing. That would suggest the two coins were struck at different stages of the same imaginary failing die. Suddenly, the hunt expands. Collectors begin searching every Alaska quarter they can find, hoping to discover the missing stage between the two coins. The media nickname becomes the bear hunt. And somewhere, according to our fictional story, one collector still believes an even later stage example exists with a larger die crack cutting directly through the bear. So if you own a 2008 P Alaska State quarter, inspect the P mint mark, bear, claws, salmon, lettering, rim, surfaces, and strike very carefully. Because in our $1 million entertainment countdown, one extra claw turns 25 cents into a $7.3 million hunt. The 1999 Georgia State quarter may be the final coin in this countdown, but it is also one of the best examples of why state quarters should never be judged by the state name alone. The reverse looks familiar: a large peach, the outline of Georgia, two branches, and a banner carrying the words wisdom, justice, moderation. Most people see that design and move on. A collector looks at the same coin and starts asking a different set of questions. Are the design elements complete? Is the strike centered correctly? Is there unusual doubling, missing detail, abnormal metal flow, or another genuine mint-made characteristic hiding inside the design? Begin with the peach in the center. Look carefully at the outline, the stem, the leaves, and the surrounding state shape. Then inspect the banner and the words wisdom, justice, moderation. These narrow letters and design lines can be useful because scratches, flattened metal, and circulation damage can easily imitate something more exciting. A genuine die-related feature should look like part of the original design, not like random damage added later. Next, inspect the lettering at the top and bottom. Look closely at Georgia, 1788, 1999, and E pluribus unum. Pay attention to any repeated edges, unusual thickness, missing portions, or shifted-looking details. If something seems doubled, tilt the coin slowly under a strong light and compare the same area from several angles. A true die characteristic will remain consistent, while reflections and surface marks can change dramatically. Now follow the rim all the way around the quarter. A genuine off-center strike, clipped planchet, broad strike, or another major production error can alter the relationship between the rim and the design. If the coin shows unusual spacing or missing design elements near one edge, compare the entire piece before assuming it is a mint error. Post-mint damage can create convincing false positives. This is where the big money possibility comes into the story. A normal circulated 1999 Georgia quarter may stay close to face value, but a legitimate dramatic mint error can move a state quarter into hundreds or thousands of dollars, depending on exactly what happened, how rare the error is, and how well the coin survived. Major wrong planchet or severe striking errors can attract even stronger collector attention. The important point is that the money comes from the right error, not simply because the coin is a 1999 Georgia quarter. Condition also matters. Inspect the open fields around the peach and banner. Look for original luster, sharp edges, clean surfaces, and minimal contact marks. Two Georgia quarters with the same reverse design can have completely different collector appeal if one is heavily circulated and the other survives with unusually strong detail. And because the supplied photo shows the reverse side only, you still need to turn your own coin over and check the mint mark on the obverse. Do not guess Philadelphia or Denver from the reverse. If you find something unusual, do not clean it. Do not polish the peach, scrape the lettering, or use chemicals. Original surfaces can be extremely important if the coin turns out to have a legitimate variety or error. So whenever you find a 1999 Georgia state quarter, inspect the peach, the state outline, the banner, the lettering, the rim, and the surfaces. Then turn the coin over and identify the mint mark. Because sometimes the quarter that looks completely familiar is the one that deserves the closest inspection. And that is exactly why collectors keep checking state quarters instead of spending them blindly.
Number 1 is the 1999 Connecticut State Quarter, or as Countdown Kalia Ye Perfect Finale. Hi, because Astros 1999 State Quarters program ka first year they are Connecticut reverse already. Ek powerful symbol carry karta high. The Astros Charter Oak. Obverse par Washington Portrait kas Astros P Mint Mark Nazar Atahai Philadelphia Mint Issue. Reverse par Astros Connecticut 1788. Center main famous Astros Charter Oak. Bottom par Astros 1990 Pluribus Unum. Real coin par ye design historical high. Lekin Hamari entertainment story main isi tree kander ek isa fictional secret chupa hua high Joe Quarter co imagines 9 million legend Banadetta high. Story hansa start hoti high. Imagine Caro ek family estate clean out main ek Parana wooden box milta high. Box kander old receipts some silver coins. Oric envelope hatai jispar surf in nalika hatai. Do not spend the Connecticut quarter. Family kolagtai koi jokai. Envelope kolajatai or under ek ordinary looking asterisk 1999 Connecticut quarter hatai. Coin circulated lagtai. Koi gold color nahi. Koi dramatic off center strike nahi. Koi obvious missing metal nahi. Basek tree. Lekin jab coin ko strong magnification kanicha dika jatahai. Charter Oki branches ke beach strange race shape Nazar Atihai Jasik extra branch tree can normal pattern ko crosskar Pela collector kekta high scratch high dusra kekta high die crack Tisra kekta high ke branch pattern main slight doubling high Firik fourth specialist fictional story main ek or cheese notice karta high Astros Connecticut lettering ke kuch letters ke edges par secondary outlines appear horahe hain Ab mystery ek branch take limited nahi rechti Collector's imaginary variety ko nam dete hain Fear story or wild hojati high. Microscope examination means supposedly tree trunk kapas ek microscopic raisline milti high jo lower branches rim kitraf jarahi hoti high. Agar ye genuine die crack hoti to iska matlab ye hosakta ke die production kadoran fail hona start hogaithi. Lekin fictional specialists ko sabsa ziada excite karta high astras branch doubling plus lettering doubling plus die. Crack ka combination. One coin, 3 separate abnormalities or condition. Imagine karaoke despite circulation, design ke critical areas unusually strong hain. Tree ke branches sharp hain. Lettering readable high. Rim complete high. Surface damage limited high. Private collector network main coin key photos circulate hoti hain. Paley fictional offer 19 million. Owner refuses. Second offer Astros 4.5 million. Still refused. Then a major private collector supposedly flies in personally to inspect the coin and offers asterisk 8 million cash. Why? Because he believes the coin is the only known example of the fictional hidden oak variety. Finally, the quarter enters an ultra-private auction with only a few approved bidders. Bidding passes asterisk 5 million S quickly. Then asterisk 7 million, then asterisk 9 price. Final fictional hammer price, 8 million. Asterisk ab clear point. Normal asterisk 1999 Connecticut State Quarter 8 million kanahi hada. Ye deliberately exaggerated entertainment scenario high. Leak in real inspection areas exactly woi hain jo tumari coin footage main visible hain. Start up verse say. Check the asterisk P mint mark. Inspect asterisk in God we trust Liberty Washington's hair, neck, face, or rim. Look for genuine raised die cracks, unusual doubling, missing details, or strike abnormalities. Reverse par sub says yada focus aster oak barako. Branches go individually inspect caro. Koi raised line high. Koi branch normal designs to duplicate log right high. Koi area main metal displaced high. Koi crack trunks a rimki taraf yarai high. Then inspect 1999 RE pluribus unum. Lettering ke edges par consistent secondary outlines genuine doubling ka cluo sakta hain. Jab random flat or shelf-like marks often post strike damage and mechanical effects hosakte hain. Rimco full 360 degrees check caro for asterisk center strike, partial collar, broad strike, clip planchet, struck through material. Yakisi or major production abnormality ke signs. Or ab final fictional twist. Imagine caro auction ke bod coin public display par kabi nahiata. Basek blurry catalog photo rejati high. Few years later, X second collector internet forum par ek photo upload karta high of another asterisk 1999 Connecticut quarter with a similar extra branch but not the same die crack. Collectors panic. Kaya original coin unique nahi tha. Ya kaya same failing die ka asterisk earlier stage tha. Suddenly ek completely new treasure hunt begin hotty high. People start checking old jars, inherited collections, bankrolls, and forgotten state quarter albums. Not because every 1999 Connecticut quarter is rare, but because in our fictional universe somewhere ek are asterisk hidden oak ho sakta high. So if you have an asterisk 1999 Connecticut State quarter, inspect the asterisk P mint mark, charter oak, branches, trunk, Clinderkit lettering, det A rim, streak, and surfaces carefully, and never clean it before inspection because in this entertainment countdown, one tiny extra branch turns asterisk 25 cents into a 9. 8 million legend.